Rituals and routines, they have a lot in common. Both help us to delineate space and time. Rituals and routine means repetition through which we create a predictable structure, a sense of anticipation and predictability, a grounding rhythm. Rituals and routines, they are reassuring, they can be calming, and they bring a stabilizing effect. But what makes them different is that rituals create excitement, whereas routines create familiarity. Rituals elevate us, they create a special feeling, whereas routines ground us. Routines can be concrete, repetitive actions that help us develop skills, while also creating continuity and order. But rituals are routines that are elevated by creativity, driven by intention, and imbued with meaning. Rituals guide us through transitions. We know about rituals at birth, we know about rituals at certain ages, rituals of transition in age-wise from child to adulthood, rituals around partnership, rituals around marriage, rituals around the end of a relationship, rituals at the end of life. Most of the important transitional moments in our lives are marked by rituals all over the world. There isn't a culture that doesn't have rituals to transmit the protocols, the ways of doing, and the meanings of those particular events. The ritual clarifies it and guides us through it. And, for example, setting the table every night is routine. Decorating the table with flowers, candles, and a special china is a ritual for a perfect date night. See the difference? What you do every day and what you do to add the meaning to what you do every day. And they sometimes overlap, rituals and routine. Brushing our teeth with our partner every night, routine. But leaving our partner with a little bit of toothpaste on their toothbrush could be a ritual. You start to see this distinction, really. So, hello. I just wanted to first plunge you right into the subject and thank you for joining me for Letters from Esther Perel, my monthly workshop series that helps you reflect, act, and develop greater relational intelligence at every stage of your relationship. This series happens monthly on YouTube and Facebook Live. If you like it, if you find it interesting, join me, subscribe, always. And today's workshop is specifically about the importance of rituals because they are essential in every stage of our relationship. Whether you're dating, whether you're becoming steady, whether you're in a long-term relationship, a long-distance relationship, and especially whether it's a breakup or a divorce. We asked you on social to tell us some of the rituals that have helped you in your relationships, and it's been multiple answers. I've taken a few here, but I really suggest you go take a look as well. So first, since my team and I are working on a surprise for April, we're experimenting with a shorter workshop today. It's going to be about 10 minutes. And unfortunately, that means no Q&A. We won't be able to have a conversation, but please keep asking your questions in the chat because it's always helpful for me to know where you are. So, you may be in a new relationship, no relationship, long-term relationship, just got out of one or contemplating about getting out of one. All the rituals we're going to be talking about are adaptable. So they're not fixed, they're not rigid. This is not a prescription. This is a suggestion. This is a way of thinking. And this is meant to inspire you to come up with your own rituals. When I say we're focusing on rituals for dating or relationships or after breakup, you really keep in mind that those are ideas for you to play with, to experiment with, wherever you are at this moment in your life. Okay, just so that you don't feel like this is a box, and if you belong here, you do that, because life is not at all a box like that. Rituals and routine are elevated by meaning, and rituals involves coming up with a creative approach. That's what makes them also so everlasting, is that they have a core that is stable and repetitious. And then around that, people can invent and improvise all kinds of additions. It's really a complex thing. I mean, there's an entire field of studies about rituals in psychology, in sociology, in anthropology. It's a major feature of our lives, actually. So let's start with the early stages. Ritual for dating. When you're dating, I think that many of us understand that creating rituals with this new person basically begins to create something that is shared sense of meaning, shared places, shared associations to those places. You begin to see that it leaves me, my own individuality, and it becomes the beginning of an us. That us may be created because we find music that we share and we make a playlist together. It may be that we're eating different cuisines from different countries of the places that we think we're going to go and travel to. That may be a place that we're taking this person to because it's a place that means a lot to me and I want to share it with you. It may be that I invite you to come to my home and I cook for you a dish that is special to me and that I would hope will become special to you. Ritual. Choosing together a favorite cafe to go and that becomes our place, our lunch place, our nook, our corner, our bench. You can see the beginning of that boundary making around two people through the ritual. Offering a scarf, offering an object that we both wear at the same time so that it becomes also a part of our story. When you are dating longer and you come into the person's house and for the first time there's actually an empty drawer waiting for you to start to put your stuff, meaning a ritual of transition into we're becoming more serious, we're beginning to have parts of ourselves, things that belong to us, in the house of the other person. And one of you even said on social that you like to bake new and delicious cookies that you bring each week and that you serve on a beautiful ceramic platter. Rituals for partnership or for longer term relationships. That can be that you are living together or that you are long distance or that maybe one of you travels frequently for work, that you're living alone or that you're living with your partner or that you're living in a polyamorous situation. There's multiple configurations for the word relationship. So this is not just a one size fits all. But creating rituals in a partnership, in a long-term relationship, is about highlighting the specialness of the bond, but also about the continuity of it and the continuous affirmation. Not just anniversaries, but anniversaries will be really important in this. So, if you're living together, rituals can be that there is a time a week when we meet, we gather. I prefer to skip the date night and to have the lunch date when you're actually awake and dressed up. It can be that you have a private email address where you actually skip the management ink that belongs to another address. And this one is the one where you are able to connect with each other outside of the practicalities and the pragmatics of everyday life. One of you shared a ritual is to build a pillow forts together and have no phone date nights. Another one of you said that you and your partner share one great memory together every night, sometimes every week. But you can see the constant theme of the ritual that creates the union, the uniting between two people around a shared story with boundaries around it and with what the element of specialness and meaning. If you're in a long distance relationship or you work on opposite schedules, creating rituals where, for example, one of you leaves something for the other back and forth each time so that something of you is left when the other person comes back. So rather than it being alone and you're not there, it's alone and something from you is right here. Creating the separate email, again, I think is such a powerful place because it becomes this kind of lover's nest, the place that is separate from the rest of the realities of the world in which we share how much we care about each other and what is special about us. And there's also an idea from social that you can do apart or together. for anniversaries, for example, someone shared that they went through the pictures together, and you create a kind of a shared memory trail. And then you can talk about the memories that have occurred, the things that you have shared together, but you can also talk about the things that you will look forward to. But photographs tell a story, and a relationship is a story, and a ritual helps to punctuate that story. It was a beautiful description that Ezra put on social. You can see he described it quite in detail. If you're in a family, if you're a parent or a co-parent, rituals definitely help in the transition from parent to partner, be it in changing clothes, changing location, putting a certain music, changing the light, opening a bottle. Why are these rituals? Because they signify more than just opening the bottle. Opening the bottle means we don't have to be so responsible anymore. We've put the kids down. We can focus on ourselves. We can switch from responsibility to play. That is done through those behaviors that imply the meaning of transition. I actually am a real fan of rituals. I have loads of different kinds of weekly rituals in my family and in my relationship, and then sometimes you skip, you forget, and then you get right back. And that's after a few months, you remember, oh, we used to do this, and it really created some real special time and space. There used to be a time when every Friday afternoon we would take a few hours and we would go and have a lunch together and go to a museum before all the crowds would come out on the weekend, just to kind of do something that felt like, it still is weekday, but we are already doing something really special together. And for some reason, it always felt better to do it on a Friday than to do it on the time that is supposedly allocated for it. Plus, on Friday, we had, more, the kids were in school, basically. That's part of why we started to do this on Friday. I definitely want to talk about rituals for breakup and divorce, because I find that there's often so much ritualized behaviors and practices around marriage, around engagement, around all the rings and all the things that people do to mark the beginnings. And I find that the endings are often so legalistic or so digitally, cold. And really there is a need to make them much more meaningful. Rituals for breakups for me are so important, because they help us understand that while the relationship may be over, we are not over. And I think that is a super important thing. It's a tough one, because the ritual helps you bring closure. That is an important part of this, but also prepares you for knowing that life goes on and there will be other loves, and that you can have faith in them. Everybody understands the ritual of, I talked about the drawer in the beginning. It's like that time when you come and a space has been made for you in someone else's house. My God, how many stories have I not heard about the people who have to remove their things, right? It's like, I made a box for you. Here are all your leftovers. Meet me downstairs. There's the doorman. If it's in New York City, drive by and pick up all your stuff. I mean, the moving of the items, it's not the items, and all the people who refuse to come and get their items, it's the parts of us that we bring with us, and the parts of us that are still there, or the parts of you that still are in my living room. I don't want to see them anymore. If I remove those objects, then I remove you. That is what this ritual of the stuff stands for. So I love breakup letters. Sometimes you send them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you send them to other people. But there was a great answer on social. Here are a few, actually. You went to places where you got married and you said goodbye to them. You took your favorite drive together for one last time, or maybe alone or together. You planned a trip just by yourself so that you had something to look forward to. One of you said that you watched Meryl Streep movies during your breakup. You had many great post-breakup rituals that involved all kinds of expressions of self-care rituals, journaling, taking yourself out on a date, using the space that you once gave to the other person to now turn it into a place where you store your own art materials, etc. But there's one that really stands out, that my colleague and friend Rose in Amsterdam did. And I remember when we had a conversation and I said to her, look, it's about work, it's about distractions, and it's about connections. Those three things will help you in this very painful breakup at this moment. So she went home and she basically created a breakup party, a love and breakup party where the friends came together, because she would have had to go and tell every single one of them who, after this long trip coming back alone, what had happened. And instead she told them all together what had happened to her. And then basically she asked them to help her, to talk about the times they were broken up with, they felt rejected, they had affairs, they found out about affairs, they found a new love again, their eyes opened again, and they felt that they had faith in love again and they could reconnect. And then people began to share poems and songs. And basically, she felt so affirmed and loved and seen as not just her, rejected self, but as a much broader person that she was. I thought that was masterful, the way she wrote the letter to all her friends, how they all brought music, poems, stories with them, and how to turn an experience that is often so lonely into a collective experience, because who has not experienced some form of breakup? So I can't emphasize it enough, because breakups in particular, we isolate, we hide, we feel ashamed, we feel so sad, we feel so bad about ourselves. And if we can actually make that experience slightly more common and normal, that we all go through it, and then to actually see that we are not just the rejected person in that moment, it changes the entire experience. So, this is to say, we're going to keep it super short today. If you like what you're listening to, join me, subscribe to the YouTube channel, or go to Facebook as well. Of course, you can read the full letters from Esther on estherperel.com/blog. And I hope that you put some of these rituals into action as early as today.